Here we go. Okay, folks, this is going to be, I'm going to give you the clock outline, and I'm going to go pretty quickly here. If you need to pause it, rewind it, but I'm going to talk quickly so that I can download it quickly. So what you're missing today is the outline for the narrative that we talked about yesterday. So we have talked about pre-writing, and we did pre-writing by talking about it. We did pre-writing by coming up with the minute that you're going to use for your Explode a Minute, and then we also brainstormed all the details, sensory details that you need for your narrative, and you also wrote down any dialogue that you need. So you came in today with that list. The next step, when you go through your 6 steps to writing, is organizing, and this is the vital step that a lot of people miss. It's critical. You would never get in an airplane that was not organized. If one wing was on the top and one wing was on the bottom and the windows were, on the back, you wouldn't get on that airplane, and you should not write an essay unless you organize it. So I'm going to teach you today how to organize a narrative. This is an organizational structure you can choose to use called the clock outline. So you start, this is your clock here on the next page of your journal. You open it up, make as big a circle as you can. This is, make an arrow, and everybody in the classroom make an arrow that goes all the way around. Okay, that is to represent the amount of time that you are going to be including in this essay, because you want to start at the right point and you want to end at a certain point. Now our essays are going to encapsulate how much time? 1 minute. We're doing an Explode a Minute. We're taking 1 minute and writing about that 1 minute. I would suggest to you in the future, because everything that we do here can be applied, just like your parallel structure for your Fractured Fairy Tales can be applied to any other types of writing that you have in the future, to poetry or something else. This can be applied not just to Explode a Minute, but to any narrative you will be asked to write in the future, and you will be, because story is important. You are a human being, and story is how we connect our humanity to everybody else. So this clock outline can be used for your Explode a Minute, but in other narratives as well. And I would suggest to you, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in the spring, that you keep your other narratives to about an hour. If the teacher says to you, write about a time you were surprised, try to keep it about an hour. So a clock really does help you remember nobody wants to hear about your entire vacation to Walt Disney World. We want to hear about when you were on the, waiting in line in the Dumbo ride and getting on it. That's what we want. We don't want to hear about the whole thing. And then we went on the Dumbo ride, and then we went to Magic Mountain, and then, okay. So never really write a narrative that's more than an hour. Not never, but in general, that's a good idea. So, but for our intents and purposes, we're ready for 1 minute, okay? So, when you've broken it down into 4 pieces, put a few lines, about 4 lines in each of the 4 quadrants. Quad means 4, right? Okay? And I'm going to tell you how you can use this outline to make it really easy. The first quadrant is where you do 2 things. You're going to get your reader's attention. Then what do we call that? Some teachers call it a hook. Anything else? Have you heard any other terms? Fine. Grab grab your reader's attention, or in our case, it's going to be your audience's attention, and set up your story. Those are any needed details. And again, this is where you as an author have to decide, what does a reader need to know, or in our case, an audience member need to know in order to understand my story. In some cases, it might be where you are. I'm going to be writing about walking across the Golden Gate Bridge. Not the whole thing, just 1 minute of it. So I might need to explain to people what the Golden Gate Bridge is, or where it is, or how long it is, some background information, so that they are going to be able to understand why I was there, and what it's just sort of have a framework, a setting for my story. But in other cases, if you're just where somebody pushed your face into a piece of cake, you're not going to have to talk about your house and the setting. Well, we were in my kitchen, which has blue wallpaper. That's not going to matter. Okay? So you have to decide, what does my audience need to know to appreciate my story? And then you're going to tell the story, tell it, and this is the last quadrant is your conclusion. So for Monday, this is your homework. For Monday, I want you to use a clock outline and be able to show me what you're going to use and set up. This is just a list here. You're not writing your essay. You're writing your organization, your outline for your essay, deciding what's going to go where, and make all those important decisions that a writer needs to make in order to make the best experience for their audience or reader. So you'll do that in the first quadrant. You'll tell the story, conclude the story. Okay? Just figure out where you're going to do what. And chronological is usually the way that people tell narratives. That's it. 6 minutes, not so bad. Email me any questions that you have. You know where I am. Hi.